Hello, hello, everybody. Oh my goodness. Hi, guys. Oh my, you know what? It's so crazy. I'm trying to keep myself grounded because I just got back from a very long trip. And you know how that is, sometimes you need a vacation from your vacation. So I was just talking to the Michaels team and Miss Jennifer from Faber-Castell USA. So I'm a little discombobulated today, but we're going to have fun. I promise you, we're going to have fun. So I'd love to see where everybody's from before we get started. Hi, Robin from Colorado. Hi, Francis from North Carolina. Hello, guys. So we went to California. If you have attended the class last week, I was in San Diego during that time, and we had so much fun. But being back in reality makes me realize that it is January 2022. It's still a little crazy to say and to think that way, but yeah. Hello, Sally. Hello from Texas, from Florida. Hi, Angelina, California. So, hello, everybody. I am back here now in Northwest Arkansas. So, it's nice to be back home. We sleep in my own bed tonight. But today's class, we're going to have lots of fun because this is my favorite class to teach. Anything that is about hand lettering. This is, I think I've been saying this, something I'm really passionate about, but anything about creativity, it really pumps my blood. It just gives me so much joy. And it's my joy to teach you all the techniques and all the tips that I can share that I've learned through the years. I hope also that you were able to download your worksheets. Faber-Castell USA is super kind to provide all of you today with this workbook that you can print at home. If you don't have it today, don't stress about it. You guys can print this at home, and then this is something that you can print over and over, and then have your worksheets ready for you as you go through your journey. And we're going to go through each and every page in here. And so is everyone ready? Is everyone here ready? Because I'm super excited. I'm pumped. We're going to get this class started. So I'm going to move over to the overhead. Here we go. We'll have fun. Let's get this started. Okay. All right. So brush lettering. I get this question a whole lot. It is crazy because when I post something online, you know how it is. You put yourself out there, you put yourself to criticize your work, but it's okay because, it's part of being online. People will have their own opinion and we're all entitled, to that. But I think the more I share, the more I know that I inspire people, and that really truly makes me super happy. So brush lettering. Brush lettering is all about the tools that you're going to use. So this is really important. So let's talk a little bit about the tools that you're going to use. So given the word brush, we're going to need some pens that has a brush tip. I am using Faber-Castell's PITT Artist brush pens. We have the regular brush, and I do have the big brush here. So as you can see, they both are brush tip, but in different sizes. Faber-Castell also has a soft brush option for you. It still comes with a brush tip. It just looks similar, but when you write with it, that's when you're going to notice the difference. And we're going to try all of them so we can see the different strokes that we can get from using different types of brush tips. But this is what you're going to need: any pen that has a brush tip. Okay. So brush lettering requires a brush pen. And when we say brush lettering, this is just kind of like another branch of hand lettering. I hope I'm making sense. I'm going to try and go as slow as I can because we have a whole lot to cover today. So we first talked about the tool. We need a brush pen to do the brush lettering. Brush lettering is just another category of hand lettering. So when we say brush lettering, this is just another style. We're going to mimic the look of the old calligraphy pen. So if you have old style nib, which is, I actually do, let me grab a little bit. So I can make sense of what I'm saying. So this is those old nibs. And when you use a different tips, it depends also on how thin and thick you can get. But that leads me to the second part of the thing that I want to share when you're brush lettering. Brush lettering looks very simple. It looks like I'm just writing beautiful letters, beautiful cursive letters, and that we're going to talk about too. But basically, what we need to understand about the brush lettering is that we have two basic strokes, and you're going to hear me say this over and over. Okay. Wanda is asking, she couldn't find the big brush. That's okay, love. I think you can find this online. I'm not sure if they carry it in the store, but if you have your regular brush pits, those are going to, the Pitt Artist, those are going to work as well. Okay, so let's talk about the two strokes, two basic strokes. We have the thin strokes and we have the thick strokes. I will zoom in here so we can see. All right, so when we say thin strokes, or I also often refer to this as the upstroke. So you might hear me say, it's time to do the upstroke, or sometimes I say, let's do the thin strokes, but those two things are just the same. So the thin strokes or the upstrokes are the thin lines that can be achieved by applying very light pressure. And every time you write away from your body, this will be your upstroke motion. So when you're going away, writing away from you, you go light as much as you can. And that would be the key, is to go really light. So use the tip of your brush pen and apply very light pressure while you can. So we have three things in here that we've learned. The thin stroke can be achieved by going really light pressure. And also, we're going to be using the tip of the brush pen. So I want you to pick up your brush pen right now. And we're going to try and write some things in here. So this is the upstroke. All right. So grab your pens and we're just going to try find a piece of paper. First of all, let's talk about the way you hold your pen. When I write my handwriting, I would hold my pen this way. We all hold it differently. Some people put it in the middle of their two fingers, the pointer in the middle, like this. Or some people even do this in the middle of your ring, in the middle. I like to hold it this way. I like to hold it to the very base of my pen. But the most important part here is this. And I'm going to show you a diagram that I did, because this is super simple and I can't find that piece of paper. I know I did. I apologize. So just grab a piece of paper from me, please. I guess I did not. Okay, so that's probably in another class that you don't want to miss. So let's talk about this. Hold your pen like this way, how you would normally hold it, okay? The most important lesson here is where this pen will sit. Because if it sits like this, less control you'll have. If you hold it this way, the less control you'll have. As long as your pen sits over here in the middle of your hand, kind of like a crab. Think of this one as the crab, because this, you want your pen to not be wobbly so you can have enough control. All right. So hold it like this, but not this way. So we're going to try and hold it 45-degree angle from the tip of a pen. So whether it sits here, I would rather have it sit here in the middle. You have, this is your lock. Basically, you want to lock it so you can have enough control handling your pen this way. And your pen cannot be like this. Your hand, whether you're a lefty or a righty, it's going to be the same. I want your hand to really sit relaxing here. And then hold your pen and let it sit in the middle. Kind of think of this as your cave. So you have a cave in here. like this way, all right? So whether you're a lefty, it's still going to be the same. Have a firm control over here, and then let your pen sit here in the middle of our cave, all right? So whether you hold it this way or this way, it doesn't matter as long as you let it sit in a cave, all right? Those are important things. So now that we talked about that, we're going to do the upstroke. Let's try and just study the brush tip, okay? So try and write anything with the tip first, this time with a very light pressure. Just go anything straight, but just using light pressure and just using the tip of our pen. So just go light, right? So now let's try and apply pressure and see what happens. Notice that my pen is slightly slanted this way, and I am applying some pressure. Notice how thick you can get. Don't be afraid to really apply some pressure in your pen and use the body of your brush tip. I mean, use the body of your brush pen instead of just the tip. All right. So after you do that, let's try and apply very light pressure again with our upstroke motion, which means away from our body. Just use the tip and go really, really light. This is the first couple of things that you're going to want to be familiar with, because if you skip this part, then you're going to have a much more difficult time learning and getting really comfortable when doing brush lettering. I was a little stubborn in the beginning. I noticed that, I have a decent penmanship. I think I can just go straight to the letters. I wish I didn't do that because it took me longer to get better. I wished I really practiced the drills and all these sample strokes and all that. All right, so let's try and do that again. Upward motion, apply really light pressure by using just the tip of our pen. All right, now we're going to do our downstroke, which is what we did in here. So the downstroke is every single time you are going to write towards your body. This is our downstroke, or the thick strokes. So you might hear me say, let's do our downstroke or thick strokes. So those are just the same, right? We can get downstroke by applying, guess what? The opposite. We're going to apply heavy pressure, like that. And then we are going to use, instead of the tip, we're going to use the body of our brush pen. All right, so let's try it. With our pen landing and resting comfortably in the cave of our hand here, we're going to do our downstroke motion, and we're going to write towards us and applying really heavy pressure and using the body or the belly of our pen like this. So these brush pens, these are really amazing tools, because just using and playing, using the tip and the body, we can create the thin and thick lines. See this one? So this is what we want. We really want to have a big difference from our thin and the thick. Because when I was first starting, I could hardly notice the thin and thick. It would be like this. Check your work if your work would be like this. So Angelina said that her upstrokes breaks unevenly when I go up. Yes. Okay. So when I was having the struggles with that too, the one thing I noticed is that the more I go really slow, I think it breaks up. So what you want to do is you want to at least cover up this round here. And we're going to talk about these strokes. So let's go switch to I believe that this is our page 3 of our worksheet. So as you can see here in our worksheet, in the third one, I shared here the basic strokes that we are going to need to practice over and over and over, because these basic strokes, these are the ones that we're going to need to compose or build our letters. Notice here to the left, we have the oval. That's the basic stroke. Plus this kind of looking like a small I, small cap I. That is our letter A. So as you can see, when we build our letter, it's just one stroke at a time. So we're not really going to write our letter A this way. So how you would normally do it in cursive by not lifting your pen, that is not the way to do it in hand lettering. We are not going to write just a regular cursive. We are doing hand lettering, or the art of drawing your letters. So everything in hand lettering is just doing one stroke at a time. So doing this kind of oval and then adding your small letter I, that's how you build the letter A. Okay. Another important thing to remember is to lift your pen, kind of like what I said. It's not just the regular cursive that you learn from school. I'm not sure if they're still teaching that. I wish that they still do. But the cursive, the way they taught us, in school, is that you don't lift your pen because it's a cursive. It's supposed to make you write faster, because you're not lifting your pen and then you're just writing over and over again. With hand lettering, that's not the case. We lift our brush pen after one stroke. So if I'm going to do this stroke, the oval, I lift my pen and then I apply the next stroke. I lift it again. And then that just gives you enough control when building your letters or your words and sentences together. All right. So I want you to make sure to take the time to really read the worksheet. I worked really hard on these worksheets, a lot of information. You can find it here, but we're going to go through because I don't want to take it super slow that we don't cover so many things today because we have a lot to talk about. Okay, so again, those things, important, lift your pen, right? And we're going to do it one stroke at a time. So let's practice these basic strokes. But before we do those basic strokes, just the regular drills are super, super duper important. So these are the drills and the warm-ups. Okay, so Nellie said that I noticed that if I have the pen resting on my middle finger, like I would normally write, it makes it harder, not as much control. But I noticed that if I rest it on the ring finger, so you put it over here, then I have more control. And that is really important, Nellie, because we are all different. So if you have taken a class before and they shared another, a different tip from what I'm sharing today, remember that not everything applies to you. You're going to have to find out the most comfortable way to do this, because maybe the way I say, hey, Lay, I'm really not getting enough control. I'm not really getting the control I want if it's resting here, or if I'm holding here at the very tip of my pen, or holding in the body, or holding on the end. I don't think you can get control from this, but maybe play around from the middle to the bottom, maybe that way, as long as you're holding and you're getting enough control. So find out what works best for you. Most importantly, that's so important. Okay, so we have drills and warm-ups here. So what is this one? This is our upstroke. Okay, so you're going to see very thin lines. And upstroke can be done when you are what? Writing away from you. Okay, so the best thing about our worksheet is that when you're done using this, you can print it again, or you can actually, what you can do is, which is I love doing this too, using a tracing paper. And then you can just put it on top of your worksheet like this, like that. And then you can practice your strokes, so create your upstroke by applying very light pressure and write away from your body. Okay, so the next one would be the downstrokes. How can you do the downstrokes? This is by applying, let's finish this one, light pressure. And I want you to remember that the more you do things, the more it will get easier. I promise you that. It may not be next week, it may not be next month, it may take you a year, but with consistent practice, you're going to get there. I'll be embarrassed later, but I want to show you some of my past work so you can get inspired and say, if she did it, I can do it too. All right, so this is the downstroke. So applying pressure and writing towards your body. Writing towards you, it's going to be heavy pressure. Writing away from you, light pressure. And the more you do it, you're going to build a muscle memory. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what I want you to build, is that muscle memory, is that next time you do this, you don't have to keep saying in your head, I'm writing towards me, I have to apply pressure. I'm writing away from me, I have to, apply light. You're going to know what to do, and your hand and your brain coordination, it'll be there, and you've built the muscle memory. All right, so this is easy. Doing lines is easy. Now we're going to do curves. This is where I think Angelina was having a little bit of struggle breaking things in here. So just you notice here, I have lines. So you start from here by applying really light pressure, slight pause if you must, so you don't break your lines. Pause a little bit. This is what is happening that I think I wasn't doing when in the beginning of my practice. It's like I was trying to finish my stroke just this way. All right. So what you can do is stop here and then do that. So instead of doing one stroke, and if you're just a beginner, slightly pause. That's okay. You don't have to finish the whole curve at a time. So light pressure going up, kind of slightly pause in here, and then apply pressure going down. And please remember that when you're writing anything, whether it's a word already or a shape or a curve like this, know that you can always come back in and then just, feel extra weight to that thickness of your stroke. So just don't aim for perfection. We're trying to practice. We want to be as intentional as we can, because the key to this is that you don't want to get frustrated. The earlier you become frustrated, I don't think that you're going to enjoy the journey. So let's just take it one step at a time. Faber-Castell and Michaels will be having a lot of classes this way, and we have a whole year or more to learn and have fun. All right, so let's try and do this. Light pressure going up. Pause in there. Using the body of the belly of the pen, I'm going to go apply. So look, see, even this one isn't perfect. So we'll try to find that happy middle where we can pause. So maybe pause in here and then go around like that. All right, let's do that again. One more time. Here we go. Light pressure going up. Pause. I'm going to pause in there. Drag it, and then now use the belly of my pen and then apply the pressure. All right. It's not perfect, but I'm going to work with that. Try that again. Going up, light. Going down, heavy. Much better. Right? So repetition is the key. So here, this time, we're going to do, I know I have all of this strokes written down. I don't remember it on top of my head. Understroke, overstroke, what are they? Okay, so we're going to try and practice letter U. This is a smiley, that's a frown. Let's just do that. So now we're going to do the opposite. We first started with light pressure. This time we're going to start with heavy pressure. Using the belly of our pen, applying. I'm going to pause slightly in here while I drag the tip and bring it up. Okay, let's do that again. Applying pressure. Slow down. It's okay. You don't have to be fast. And then I'm going to drag and using the tip of the pen, go up like that. Let's start again and then go up. All right. So our key or our hope here is to have a difference from our thick and the thin. So that's your whole goal, is to practice where you can really see the thick and the thin line. All right, so this one, right. So this is your goal. The reason why you're going to practice is you want to really see that break where that thin and the thick go. Right. And so now you think that's easy. Now we're going to do some wiggly lines. This is really a good practice because this is, you cannot pause so much with this one. When you try and practice the stroke, I want you to finish the whole thing, as much as you can. You can still cheat and pause, but I think it goes to the direction where you're really not getting used to that switching, because what our goal is to get comfortable switching from the thin and the thick. That means switching your pressure from the light and heavy pressure. All right, are we ready for this one? I'm going to go zoom in just a little bit. All right, okay. So we go heavy pressure, adjusting, and you can pause in here if you want to, because this is the first time. So go light and use the tip of the pen. Apply pressure using the body. Okay, I'm going to pause and cheat there, and then up, light, thick, down, up, light. Now, when I see, people doing this online, they just say, oh yeah, just do this over and over and practice that way. It's really not that easy. It just looks easy because we've been doing this forever. So I want you to be kind to yourself. If your strokes does not look like this, trust me, my strokes didn't look like that too when I was beginning. So be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, and we're just going to practice. All right, so let's do that. This time I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to really try and hard to finish the whole stroke. Maybe not. We'll see. All right, so applying pressure, going up, going down, up, down. Oh, that was hard. I didn't realize it was going to be that hard. I even struggled on that one. All right, I'm going to try and do that again. So I hope you're following me. Let's do it. Pressure going up, going light. So this is kind of like your letter M. Light, like that. That's okay, I suppose. See that? All right. So this time, let's practice this one. You'll notice that it looks like a J, but this stroke, you're going to need this stroke to compose many different letters, kind of like you'll see as letter P. You can create your letter P this way. But let's practice it. So this one would need heavy pressure and then go light on your loop like that. So thick or heavy pressure, pause, and then ease up on your pressure and then use the tip of your pen. All right. Try that again. And then ease up and use the tip of your pen. There. So please do not skip your drills. I know how boring it is because you're like, I can just do letter U this way, but if you don't, please don't, so practice with that. Okay. And your worksheets, you will also find some sample letters in here that you can practice on your own at home. So I have one here that you can copy, while you're still trying to figure out your style of lettering. So you can just copy these. And then I also created something that has very faint lines so that you can go trace on top of this one, or do what I did. I have a tracing paper and just put it on top of this one. So this one has a bit more, it's bolder, so you can use this with your tracing paper. But this one, if you want to just print this one over and over and then just trace on top of that, that's really a good practice as well. And I, made the letters simple enough because when it comes to brush lettering, you can go as really extra as you want with many different flourishes and added, swashes and all that. But if you're beginning with this journey of brush lettering, my suggestion is to go as simple as you'd like, as you can, because see, avoid that frustration. And then you also have the small letters like this. And then you have some practice sheet. All right. So let's do the letters together. I'm going to go over here, then use my brush pen. So this one, let's use the brush, the big brush one. The one thing that I can say is that when you're learning brush lettering, I want you to be self-aware. How normally would you write your letters? Do you write heavy or do you write lightly? Okay, so being self-aware will just make things easier for you, because you know that if you write heavy, then your downstrokes will come really natural to you. Like that is me. I write heavy, so my downstrokes are much easier. I have to pay more attention when I'm doing my upstrokes because I don't normally write light. I have heavy hands. So knowing that, I know that I have to spend extra time being more intentional when I'm doing my upstrokes. I have to go really take my time. And then this one just comes naturally to me. So going up light, then going down heavy, right? So that's another tip that I want to share with you. So let's do our letters here. We're going to do as simple and as slowly as we can. And then if you have your worksheet, then great. If you don't, just have a piece of paper and then just kind of write with me. So we'll do our capital letters first. Our letter A, the way I did my A here is a little, on the pretty side. If you are new to it, then you can do your letter A kind of like the small caps, but with this stroke and then this stroke. That's your letter A. You can keep it as simple as that. You can also make it this way, go up, and then go down. Notice that I'm going one stroke after the other. You can just line it up there. All right. So my question to everybody today, would you like us to go over the letters in our worksheet, or would you guys like me to create the alphabet a much more simpler way, which is more like this one or this one? Because this one is a little flourished. I thought I really went simple on that one, but I guess it's a little extra. So let me know. I would love to make this easy for you and at the same time enjoyable, because I want you to leave the class feeling like you've really accomplished and learned a lot. Okay, so yes, a simpler alphabet.
Simple.
I know, simple. Okay, we're gonna do simple first. All right, so let's go. Let's do this. All right, so we'll do the gray one so you guys can really see. And you know what? Fancy. Shannon said fancy. Flourishly. You know what? Okay, so I think this is the best time to announce also, because we're going to have premium classes with Faber-Castell and Michaels that will really have a lot of time, because our free classes, we have an hour. And so, sometimes the more time we have, the more things we can do. So that is going to begin on February. Just watch out and make sure to subscribe to Faber-Castell's newsletter and also Michael's website to check in there as constantly as you can so that you don't miss any of our classes. And premium classes are also very limited, because I want to have a few students so I can look at your work and all that. I think that would be great if you really want to invest a lot of your time learning hand lettering this year. And so I would love to be a part of your journey. Okay. So flourishes, simple, please. All right. How about I do different types of A? We'll do maybe 3 so I can really get the whole alphabet in here. I want to make sure we cover the A to Z in here. All right. So we'll start with a simple. Since you have the worksheets anyway, then you have that to copy with you. And then just practice with that. But right now we're going to do 3 different letters. I would show you how I would brush letter each alphabet or each letter in the alphabet. Okay, so let's start with a simple letter A. If you want just a letter A this way, like that. Let me zoom in so you can see the action of the brush. When I use the tip and when would I use the body of the pen or the belly of the pen. So let's do this again. I went a little thin, right? So thin and light, apply pressure and go thin again to close this in. And then thick stroke and then thin stroke. Simple. All right, so another way to go is just upstroke this way and then downstroke to close it in this way. You can go cross the whole thing or you can just go on the inside. It's up to you. Right, I'm going to try and use the Pitt Artist, the blue one. So again, let's do this. Like this. I like overlapping my strokes this way. It's just a personal preference. Right, you can also do the letter A that I have in your worksheets. I kind of like did this way, and I went up, and then I went down. It's kind of like life. Again, this I did start with the middle stroke this way, went up. It's a little harder, but it's super nice and pretty, right? So how can you flourish and adorn a simple letter A this way? We can easily do that. So you start with just this way. Just how we did our letter A. And then from here, you can stretch it and add that wings. Or you can start with the wings and do your letter A. Like that. Oops. Right? The first one that I use is the big brush. I'm not sure of the size of this one. Maybe you can go really thick with the big brush. And that's why I like using it when I'm creating like a larger piece of lettering here, because I know that I can really go as thick as that. And I can still see the difference from my thin and my thick stroke. So just depends on you. It's really just a personal preference. So if you find it hard to practice with that, the good thing with the Faber-Castell is these are available open stock. So if you want to stick with one color first to just get you going and get a feel of that size, then that's really the best way to go. So let's continue. We have our letter A here. So how can I'm not going to do so much of the flourish because we're going to save that for some of our premium classes, because those things can get really tricky. And if you're in the beginning of your journey of brush lettering, you can easily get frustrated when you're like, it doesn't look like that. So let's start with the basic. All right, for the letter B, we just created a kind of like a J, right? So a downstroke and a little bit of that tail. Now we're going to create a loop. That's the letter B. Or you can do it this way. Instead of just closing it in like what we did here, I'm going to make a loop, kind of like a J still, but meet in the middle and go from here and bring it all the way to there. You can do it just this way. You can start from the middle if you'd like, just like that. You can go overlap this and like this. So this exercise, you can really see that with hand lettering, whether it's a script or whether it's a print, there's really endless of possibilities how you can draw each letter, because remember, you're not writing, you are drawing, and no one can tell you that way is wrong or right. Remember, this is art. You have the creative freedom to make it however you'd like. So here, this one, I'm just going to create a thick stroke, like a downstroke. From here, I'm going to pick it up from the bottom and I'm going to go all the way to the top and make a loop and repeat that and do that. So you can go as simple as that and create just a tail this way. So super fun. All right, now let's do a letter C. I think with C, I'm very simple with my letter C. How, like this, I like to add like a small thick stroke this way and pick it up from there and just create this. So instead of completing a circle, I just stopped in the middle. So you can go as simple as like that. Or you can do what I did with the letter A. If you would follow me on social media, you're going to see me use this style a lot. This is one of my favorite styles, just adding a little bit of tail. So for the letter C, you can go do that too. You can do your curve knowing that the C is going to curve there. I stop there. Or you can do your letter C, just what we did earlier. And from here, I'm going to go pick it up from there, and make a loop on top. Like that. Super fun. Okay, you can also make your letter C this way, but this one is a little tricky because if you make your loop too big, then it can look like a letter E sometimes. So we have to be careful with this style of letter C too. So the more you do it, the more you practice, the more you experiment, then you're going to notice things. You know, the most important thing when you're doing a brush lettering is the legibility, is that will other people be able to read it? But sometimes if that's not your goal, if you just want flourishes here and there, sometimes that's not their problem anymore. You know, if you want it really fancy with all the flourishes, as long as you can read it, it's in your journal, or, you know, then that's all that matters. But if you're going to gift it to somebody, then we want to make sure that that card the person that's receiving it will be able to read your message. Okay. So that's the letter C's. Now for the letter D, we can do as simple as a thick stroke, kind of like what I did with this letter B. From the bottom, I pick it up from there and then create my loop this way. I can stop there or bring it down and then create your D. Just like that. But everything is one stroke after the other. Now we can do this letter D, kind of like what I did with the letter B. So I did the downstroke, and then I created a loop in here, and then bring it up like this, right? I'm gonna go like this and overlap it just this way. Right, so now we're gonna do a letter E. You can go as simple as that. Or kind of like what we did with the letter C. From here, you pick it up from there, and then you add your flourish over there. Or like what we did with the letter C, I did the one small thick stroke and create it this way, letter E. Or you can go create a print. So everything is just personal preference. Now letter F can go like that and add the middle part. You can go, it's kind of like a letter L. You can use this like that. And we can just go do a print. Letter F. Right, now letter G. This is the way, I think this is my favorite part of writing the letter G. Like that. So I'm going to do that slower. You can do it this way, just your oval, and then adding your loop. So you can go as simple as that. You can go added the tail again. Letter G. Now play the more you practice, the more you're going to find your different style, because I think this is where I struggled the most, because, you know, I bought some worksheets from some paid classes before in the beginning. And for the longest time, I was just following what was in the worksheet. And so my next journey was to find my own style. And to find your own style with lettering is as simple as, do I make my loops big like this? Or do I keep it small this way? And so those are the things that you want to consider when you're doing lettering or brush lettering, is that play around with the size. Do I make it close like this? Or do I make it drop down a little bit more and just do this? See, play around, experiment, and have fun with your letters. So don't stick to one style, but in the beginning, of course, try to make it as simple as you can and just get familiarized with the thin and thick, because that's your main goal. Because if you do it this way, there's nothing wrong with that. But see the difference of the thin and thick, I can hardly tell. So as long as you have that thin line still and thick line, then that is, really pretty, because that's what we're trying to achieve, is having the thin and thick strokes for the brush lettering that we're doing. Now for the letter H, you can go simple as this. Keep it inside or overlap it. So you can do it this way too, like a letter J, but go in the middle and then add another stroke for that. Or you can go with a tail, add a little bit of tail, bring it up this way. You can go from here, let me in the middle like that. So play around with that. So for the letter I, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. For the letter I don't think I've really done this style of I, because to me, it always looks like a letter J. So I just really prefer the style of this way. Just kind of like, I just play around with the shape of my loops. So instead of just a regular print this way, I just kind of make everything slightly bouncy and slanted, like this way, and then this way. So, but the regular I in cursive is this way, right? So when you do your letter J, you complete the loop this up. So that when it becomes, that when it becomes a letter J this way. But again, to be honest, I don't think you'll see me using this letter I when I'm doing my brush lettering. It's just a personal preference. Okay, so for the letter I, that is my favorite way, this way, as you can see here, that's my favorite way, that one. Okay, so someone's asking, any tips on making the little A difficult to go from thin to thick? I agree that this oval stroke is a little tricky. See, because start with the letter C first and stop in here. So apply your thick while you're curving and using the tip of the pen. Stop in there, right? So if you want, instead of the middle, you want to go here, apply your pressure, and then go ease up like that. Let's try that again. So instead of starting from the top, we kind of find the happy middle over here and light pressure and go thick pressure and go drag your pen and use the tip and go up like that. And then apply your thick pressure and then drag it again and use the tip. I think that's the key, is that knowing when to pause, slightly pause, and then drag your brush pen and then just use the tip of it to create your thin and thick line. Just like that. Okay, so let's go over the G. So my G would normally look like this, kind of like the oval, but it kind of overlap in there. And I really, well, I wasn't on frame, wasn't I? Drag it there. Let's do that again. Kind of like a letter A too, just like that. And I just add thick pressure, and then I add my loop, and then I go up. All right, so now we're in letter J. So for my letter J, I would just normally do it this way, go up like that. Or I would just do a letter J this way and just add my loop. It just depends on my mood sometimes. So you'll see me write or draw my letters differently each time. Maybe not each time, but I have my favorites, but I like to play around with it. So sometimes I would go bigger loop on top, you know, so in this way. So those are the things that you want to play around with. How much space you have in your loop. So if you want your letter J this way, I don't want a space. Then you don't need to put a space. Then just that way, you know, so find that perfect style that would fit your personality. I always say that because this is your art. And so you can do it however you want to, but just practice and practice and practice. For the letter K, let's do this way. See, this is kind of weird how I did the letter K this way.
And wait, we have a friend asking if you can go over the G again.
Yes, I think we kind of did the letter G, Jen. Thank you. Was that this one, the letter G, or again? So let's try and do it the letter G again. Just one more time.
Yeah, they asked if you could do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, so that. And then that. So kind of like what I said earlier, play with the size of your loop. Now, if you want to try this pretty letter G, let's try that again. So here, oops, frame, really light pressure, applying pressure, kind of like a letter E, isn't it? See? And then, but if I add this stroke, then that becomes a letter G. That way. So this time with this one, it is a little tricky because it can be tricky in the eye sometimes, especially with the size of the loop that I have in here. So maybe go not so much open like this, or just like that. But again, a little tricky. Okay, so for the letter K, oh my gosh, look, our time is already running out. But letter K, let's go with this. Thick to thin, thick stroke, go in the middle part from here, thick, and then thin. So that's my letter K. You can just add your tail after. With the one with the letter K, you can play with this is what I call decorative swashes or flourish. You can do swooping up instead of going down. So just play around with that. That. And then letter K. Let's go with the letter M. I'm going to be a little biased. My name starts with letter L, so I practice with this letter a whole lot. Okay, so with the letter L, you can go like this one. You can go this way, like that. Yes, Ashley, I think what happens when you have like breaking things, I just want to quickly show you guys my letters in the beginning. So you kind of feel good a little bit about yourself here. This was my journal in 2015, okay? So I just want to quickly show you before we proceed. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of this was even, I don't know, maybe I was doing it because it's a scratch journal. So maybe some of this were even 2016 or 17 already. Because sometimes when I see like a page that was not used, I use it just to kind of practice. So as you can see, everything is not perfect. My thin and thick, you can hardly see the difference, or sometimes the thin are too thin, the thick are not thick enough, you know, so. And then I agree with you. Sometimes it's a pressure thing. Just understanding when to pause to finish your stroke will really help you a lot. And the more you do this, Ashley, the more you just feel comfortable completing an O instead of and going up again, you know, but sometimes we have to fake it until we make it. And so look at my journal here, but like that, but just keep practicing. Let's start practicing with the pressure again. So if you're going to do the letter L this way, this is when it is looping down, right? So you can always do up this time and go your letter L this way. You want to make it big or small. So these are the things you want to pay attention to. Do you want it swooping down or swooping up? Do you want to make your loop small or loop big? All right. What I think, Nancy, that's a good question. What feels comfortable to me is when I tilt my paper to the left. Remember, I'm a righty. So if you're a lefty, you want to make sure you tilt it just slightly, because when I have it like straight up like this way, it still will look good, but I feel like there's more effort on my end. So instead of me trying to make my tools work for me, this is one of the tips that I'm going to share with you. I make it just slightly tilted, and it makes it much easier to create my loops and my swashes this way. So that one is swooping down. I'll go up like this, make it everything big on top, and then make my swashes or my loops smaller at the bottom like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little faster so we can cover the whole letters because it's almost already time, but that's why. Go up. Letter M is really a good letter to practice over and over because as you can see, we have the double humps in here. Now with the plain cursive, they teach you to do this, right? So we have 3 humps. Now when you're hand lettering, it doesn't matter. You can have a base for your letter M and then just have 2 humps. Make one bigger than the other, just like. Thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you. All right, so letter M, you can do it this way. Play around with your humps. You can do it straight up with same height, or you can where this first hump is taller and the other one is a bit smaller. So those are the really things. So for the letter N, you can go as simple as this way, this way, this way. That was a little tricky, but just thin, up, thick down, then thin up again and thick down. Or you can just do this, up, base, hump, this way. All right, so letter O, I just go like this, go my loop in the middle, or you can go like this and have your loop overlapping the whole thing. So play around with that. Sometimes I like to add my tail with the letter O and then make a small hoop, not big like this one. All right, so for the letter P, just a simple base like this, or have one like this. From the bottom, drag it, creature like this, and then add your loop here. So when you're writing and practicing your letters this way, it's easier when it's one letter after the other, right? But the whole thing here, when it gets difficult, is trying to put the letters together to create a word. So I'm going to finish this up real fast. LMNOP, we have our letter Q. Again, Q is one of those letters that I don't really like the original cursive. Supposedly it looks this way, kind of like a number 2. I don't think I've ever lettered with this one. I would always just use a very simple one, kind of like a letter O. And I just play around with that tail of the queen, just like that. Sometimes I would drag it a bit more down. So that's the thing that I play with that. Q, letter R. These are pretty letters. One of my favorite letter to draw, this letter R. I play around with my letter R very often. Sometimes I would do a loop in the middle and then just play around with that. Or I would do this way. There. Not my favorite. Letter S. I love this one. You can do it this way. But when you're doing your practice, pay attention to the pressure. It's all about the pressure you apply in your pen to get the thin and the thick line. And that's what makes brush lettering a little tricky, because while you're drawing the letters, you have to pay attention to the pressure. But the more you do it, again, we spoke about that, is you're really building your muscle memory. So the more you do it, the less you have to think about that. So the more you practice, the easier things get. So look how many different ways I can letter the letter S. I love it. I love it so much. I feel like I play around with letter S very much. You can make it double. See, there's so much to do with the letter S. Love it. I love letter S. Now, letter T, very simple. I would normally do it this way, just like that. If not that, I would do it this way, just like that. I don't think I play around with the letter T very much. Letter U, you just do the understroke that we did and then add that loop there. You can play around with the tail, add that. I'll add this. Or do the opposite, do your letter U first, finish everything, and then add your tail. So whichever feels most comfortable for you. Letter V, this way. Play around with that height. So you can go simple as V with the same height, or play around with this one where I went really higher, like this. Or you can also bring this like that. But it looks like an N now, right? So that's why it's really tricky sometimes. You want it to be legible. So sometimes I would just normally do my letter V this way. Go away from the letter, especially if I'm going to do love like that. See, we added the letter V. S-T-U-V-W. W is another letter very nice to practice because you have your thin and thick. You can really practice it with the letter W. So you can do thick stroke, thin stroke, thick stroke, thin stroke. And you can do it this way, or thick stroke, thin, thick stroke. Or kind of like what we did, the V like that, or loop it back like this. W, X, X. I'm always struggling with my letter X, especially when it's a part of a word. I think this is where I'm having a hard time connecting letter X with other letters. So, but I would normally just do it like this. I don't think I ever play with my letter X, whether it's a small caps, it would still look like that, just like that. So add my E in there. Yeah, I would normally just do it like that. So X, Y. Now Y is another letter that is super pretty to draw. So you have this stroke. See how many times we use this stroke over and over. That's why it's really best to practice that one. And then that stroke too. So you have your Y in there, or you can go make a loop like that. Go here and really make it pretty like this. But normally it would look this way. Now letter Z, I love doing this little thick stroke in there, kind of like with the letter C, this time with the letter Z. This. Or go really all the way. So I just played with the size of the hoops or the tail of the letter Z, but that's it. Now, before I leave you, I want to share some words that is fun to practice over and over again. For me, mum is a good one, but the British way, M-U-M or M-O-M, either one, because you're going to practice with your letter M, really. So we have that thick stroke, go that hump. This is how we're going to connect. I always overstretch the letter so that I can easily connect my letter O for the mom, my tail, like this, and then that way. So that's how you are going to connect the letters, because when you're practicing your letters one by one, it is easy. But the way you would connect it is just overstretching the tail of your letters. So if you want to do mom, see, I kind of stretched this one. Instead of stopping here, I stretched it intentionally because I know I will connect my next letter to it. So even with the letter O, I'm going to have stretch this one instead of staying in there, stretching it so that I can connect the next letter. So I hope that this was fun. I know that there was a whole lot of information to really think about, but that is why I wanted to make sure that I make your worksheet as with so much information as much as I can, because there's a whole lot to learn about brush lettering, but the whole key is all about that pressure that you apply when you're writing, because it's all about the thin and thick strokes. You can try other types of hand lettering, which is the perfect time to plug, because next month, the month of February, we're going to learn a lot of creative lettering. Notice that I didn't use brush lettering, because next month we're going to have so much fun, different types of lettering styles that you can practice and learn. So that's the month of February. So make sure to subscribe to Faber-Castell USA's newsletter, and you can get a notification and alerts. And also visit Michael's website constantly so you can see what kind of classes that we have coming next. But as always, it's been such a pleasure. I know that was a lot of information. So if you do have any questions for me, I'll be gladly help you with your journey. You can find me online. My name is @MommyLay on social media. You can send me a DM, and I would do my hardest to get back with you as soon as I can. Life, happens, so I may not get back with you as quickly as you would like, but I promise and I will. Thank you again. I hope that you've learned a whole lot today, because I was a whole lot to process, but it is always one stroke at a time. And so pay attention to your thin and thick. I wish you good luck, and I wish you lots of fun. Enjoy the process, because it's all about the process. But I appreciate you. Thank you. Stay well. And I can't wait to see you again for our next class, which is next week. We'll do some fun, loose watercolor. No, actually, we're going to do some watercolor journals using the Faber-Castell Gelato. So don't miss that. It's going to be fun. Until next time, my name is Lay Ralston. See you again. God bless. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.